It's a beautiful day today. It's for several days. It's been like in the 30s and 40s. Mother of God, and then cold during the day. But last night it was like in the 60s, and then today it's I guess going to be in the 80s. But it looks very stormy. I just had something really weird just happen to me. So I go into the store to get my, my Starbucks. Woohoo! Cheers. And I run in and grab my stuff. It's 2 for $6 on sale. And I walk right out up to the register and I'm starting to check out. And this guy walks right up to me. And he's about 2 feet away, nicely dressed. And he says, "Well, hello. How are you today?" And I look at this guy and about fell out in the floor. If I was going to have another heart attack, that would have been the one. Um, I could not believe this guy, the voice, the face, the clothes, the hat. It was just really, really wild. And I looked right at him with probably total and pure fear. Because he is supposed to be dead, my ex-husband. And this guy looked very much like Franklin when we were first together. He's really, actually, a very nice looking gentleman. And wow, this guy, I would say he was about 3 inches shorter than Franklin was. But I mean, the voice, and then I looked right at him and I said, "My God," the first thing I say is, "You look just like my ex-husband, and he is dead." What a great thing to say to somebody. That used to be a big prank years ago where people would go in a restaurant and they'd say, charge my meal to those two older people because they're my mom and dad. And then they would walk out. It was like a total scam. But no, this was really wild. And I don't think he quite registered exactly what I said at first. I looked at him again and he kept talking and he was just standing right next to me. And uh I was at the self checkout thingy. And I did the voice and I looked at him head to toe and I was just like totally in shock. You know what I mean? And I was trying to be nice, but it scared me it really bad because my husband had turned out to be Frankenstein. He was Prince Charming, and then he turned out to be Frankenstein. A very, very, very scary situation. Absolutely frightening for my youngest daughter and I. And he turned out to be a lot of other things too. But it was kind of wild because it was like a flashback to the past. And I'm sitting there going, he really was a charming man and very good looking and very polite in his voice and everything like this. And this guy was just identical to him. It was so weird. I mean, just a total carbon copy, a Xerox, a freaking clone. It was beyond belief. And Franklin had this beautiful kind of a southern radio announcer type voice. Um, the best voice of a man I was with for a lot of years was Carvel. Carvel had the most enchanting radio type voice, like DJ voice. Um, and it was like something out of history books, just absolutely enchanting. And in proper English and all that kind of stuff, and just, uh, when you're not Southern, it's really impressive to hear people talk with the accent. But one of the prettiest accents is a true Southern accent when they speak good English. It's quite impressive. Um, but wow, this guy, and then he looked at me. He said, "I was just admiring your beautiful hair," and I didn't even say thank you. What a jerk I was. You should always say thank you for the compliment. Uh, and I was I just looked at him. And I said, I just can't believe you look like my ex-husband who's deceased like a year. And um, although this guy looked like Franklin when we were first together, I mean, just carbon copy, just breathtakingly good looking and polite and sweet, and it just freaked me out. And the guy said, "What?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "You look identical to a man that's been dead probably a year or so." I understand he's supposed to be deceased. I have yet to find his grave or anything else, but I've been told that, so I'm not quite sure. Um, I imagine he is because he was a lot older than me, and he his health was really really bad. But I kind of think God gave him the second chance, and he didn't do it right, and his time was finally terminated. Um, it was a shame because he was really enchanting man. We had some great times together. We traveled a lot, and he supposedly adored my little girl, but it didn't work out well for a lot of reasons. But uh, wow, this was so weird. That guy, he was just amazing. I was like, no hard feelings. I said, I just got to tell you that he was a gorgeous man, absolutely gorgeous man. And the guy just kind of looked at me, and his eyes just kind of opened up. I didn't even notice that he had a wedding ring on or whatever. But uh, you know, he could have had some wife tailgating him in the store for all I knew. But he was impressively good looking, looked just like him. And it's a shame that that went bad like that. But he was a very evil person. There was something wrong with him upstairs for sure, and a control freak, no doubt. In the end, very much a control freak. Um, but wow, is that weird? Have you ever been through something like that where you saw somebody look like somebody else? I mean, that used to be a pickup line in California where a guy would walk up to you and he'd go, "Hey, Karen," and then they come up to you again and go, "Karen," and you just look at him like, "What are you talking about?" And they go, "Oh, I thought you were Karen. Oh, and so who are you? And where are you from?" And it was like a pickup line. Um, they just name any name and act like they knew you just so they could go talk to you. Or they would tell you they're a photographer and they wanted to take pictures of you. That was how guys would try to pick up on you. But wow, that was so weird. I mean, I've seen probably six people in my life that looked just like my mother. Um, and I've seen probably one, maybe two people that looked just like my daddy. And then I've only seen about two people looked like my baby sister, and then I've seen um, two people that looked and sounded just like my sister Jeannie Marie, which was wild because she's very different. Um, Little surfer chick, little tiny thing that never gets old. She always looks like she's about 15. But wow, how wild. Um, And when I was with Bill Fredrickson, after he passed away, I was working in a bar, and a guy walked right in and looked just like Bill. Sounded like him, liked all the same things, cars, everything. It was like really freaking weird. Um, yeah. Um, but how weird, interesting, scary, but it makes you appreciate the good things about bad things that happen in life. Because I must say, I have very good taste in men, and Franklin was a very nice looking man. I wouldn't be with any junk. That's for sure. But yeah, wow, how wild. But when he said, when I this was really funny when I told the guy, for the second time, I said, he is like deceased. And then the guy kind of looked at me and said, well, that's a good thing. And I said, well, actually, it kind of is. I said he was very evil, very, very evil person. And I think it's one of those, you reap what you sow in life. And I always wondered why that never caught up to him for years and years. And people are like, oh, he'll pay the price in the end. He'll reap what he sows. I said, why hasn't he done it yet? Because the things I found out about him, especially in business, and how he was ripping people off and stuff, um, and some other things he was doing that I found out right in the end before I left here. It's amazing that something hadn't happened years before. I mean, I got so scared of stuff he was doing in our businesses and stuff. I was like, these people are freaking hillbillies. They are going to come back and blow your freaking head off. You cannot do business like that. These people are going to come back and get you, you know? And he didn't care. It was all about those Benjamins. And I didn't want that life, you know? Um, I mean, there's several people that would say, "Oh, your husband's a piece of crap," you know. Um, he's bad. He ripped me off. He did this. He did that, and then I found out how true all these things were. These people weren't lying. I saw it in black and white in documents and files and stuff. And I was like, Mother of God, you know. And the best thing to do when something situation's bad like that, get away from him. God, it's just like I had to be very selective when I left home because I didn't want to face my family name, and I wanted to be with somebody respectable and upscale, and I was never in a hurry to look for a date, a piece of booty, any of that kind of stuff. I wanted to work and live life, get an education, and my last concern was going out with somebody. That was never my priority. It was how much money can I make, and how many Lincolns can I buy, and how much gold can I put around my neck, and how nice of a place I can live in, and what kind of cool car can I get next. I mean, that was my whole way of life, and I was top salesperson, in the schmata business, and it was just to be better than the best, and even better, and it was like a competition for myself. And but as far as uh, men went, it had to be something good. It had to look good. It had to have an education. It had to be able to support itself. I fell across a couple of times in my life where I tried to save people's lives and change them, and you aren't changing crap. You have to accept them as they are. They're just going to be that way. They're probably not going to change, and they'll probably get a little bit worse through time. And relationships is a thing to work on. Um, it's always requires work. That's why you see long time marriages that last like they do. The few that do, because the people worked at it. Okay, and uh, it takes a lot of work. But if you don't start with a giant piece of junk with a bad legal record and a drug habit, alcohol habit, um, if you're with somebody that never meets a stranger, when I was with Kelly O'Brien, it was like he was that kind of guy that never met a stranger, and I never. I don't know that I ever heard anybody say anything bad about Kelly ever. He was just a really neat kind of guy. Um, it turned out he was kind of fake in the end. He was more or less a gigolo. He made a lot of money out of me, that's for sure. But uh, he put on an impressive show, that's for sure. But yeah, I always try to be selective because if you start with junk, you're going to end up with junk worse than junk. So you got to try to make a good selection because you don't know if you're going to be with them a short time. You don't know if you're going to be with them for years and years. If they're going to become like your right arm, you know, those are neat relationships to be in with somebody that you really love, somebody that is not hounding you and not paranoid about if you're sleeping with somebody else or something that you're not even doing, accusing you of stuff, hitting on you. Um, they can't quit drinking. Ronald Fournier was a great guy. He worked really hard. He was construction. He had his own construction company in Massachusetts. And we were together a lot of years. But the problem with him was he had to drink like every day. And then it was either, he was sitting there watching TV with his socked feet up on the coffee table, or he was jumping in the car and saying he was going to the store to get a loaf of bread, and he didn't come back till 2 in the morning, because he was hitting the bars, and uh, a lot of times I thought, God, maybe he's dating somebody else or running around on me, and he wasn't. The problem was he had a love for that liquor. And he wasn't a nasty drunk. It's just he liked to drink every day. And I didn't want to sit around the house. I was young. I wanted to, get out and about, experience things, have fun, you know. And it just wasn't what I wanted in life, you know. Um, Although we were supposed to be married in 1999 when we split up, and he went back to Massachusetts again for a little bit, to get the kids out of California because they were doing bad things, and it was just going to not end well. And he felt that Massachusetts was much better influence than California. California was too fast with the doping and all that other stuff going on, and so he thought it to be better. And so I picked a year, and he asked if I would go back with him. I'm like, hell no. I'm not going to Massachusetts. It's too damn cold. I'm not in for snow and ice and all that crap. I like California and I like the beach. And uh, he he said, well, I really want to marry you. And I said, well, 1999, 1999, and yeah, but he just passed away like 5 years ago, I guess. My youngest daughter and I went down to go look for him in Lower Florida because he owed me a car because he stole one of my damn cars. But uh, I figured he was old enough that he probably didn't drive anymore. Maybe I could recoup that convertible white Cadillac or something, you know, and then give my daughter one of my cars so that she would have a car. Because we were having such a hard time getting a car that her daddy promised her, but he said only when he died, and it was like So we had to wait around for him to die, and he doesn't even drive the car for the last 3 years. I even offered to buy that car from him, and he was like, "No, it'll be hers when I die." I mean, it was like, I mean, she should have already had a car. You know, my parents didn't give me cars, but let me tell you what, that's one of the reasons I left home. But uh, you know, I normally have lots of cars, so it was not a big hairy deal to be able to give her a car. But I sure wanted to collect that debt, by gosh, but you can't do it when you're 6 foot under. But anyway, yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? Boy, oh boy, what a wild day! A beginning of a wild day right here. Really wild. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great one. Be selective in who you hang around or who you're sleeping with, because if you hang out with junk, you'll become junk. That's a fact. Try to surround yourself with some good stuff. All right, I'll see you guys later. Love you. That's just my 2 cents for the day, I guess. And well, that was really freaky. Do something kind for a stranger. I will see you in the next one. I love you.